Hey, what is going on, everyone? The real estate numbers in the Sacramento region are out for March, and boy, do they have a story to tell. Spoiler alert, the market is still heating up. We're going to dig into those numbers. In addition to that, we're going to look at what the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, just proposed to postpone foreclosures until the end of 2022. So for those of you who thought there may be more inventory coming online in the fourth quarter of this year, sadly, that may not be the case. Welcome to Macro Thinker. If you are new to the channel, please consider smashing that like button to help push the content to more people, and tap that subscribe button to see more weekly videos on finance, real estate, and investing. My name is Lewis. Let's get it. Okay, so let's just jump right into the data. Up on the screen, I have a chart provided by Trend Graphics. This is a service provided by the MLS, and we are looking at the Sacramento region, which includes Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado County. And so the first chart we're going to go through here is the for sale, sold, and pended, and it gives a really good idea on what's going on in the market month over month, and it gives us a look back for a year. We have the number of homes here listed on the right-hand side, and then we have the month and year listed on the bottom. The light green is the for sale, the dark green is the sold, and the red is the pended. And so I know we went over this data for February, but we want to pay specific attention to March and see exactly what is going on right now. So as of March of 2021, we have 1,088 homes listed for sale. We have about 2,000 homes sold, and we have 2,616 homes pended. If we go back a year to March of 2020, the data reveals something very interesting. So in March of 2020, we had substantially more inventory. It looks like we had 2,600 homes for sale versus 1,000 homes for sale currently. So substantially more inventory. We had we were pretty close as far as number of homes sold. We were a couple hundred less in March of 2020. But if you look at the number of pended sales, it was actually going down because that's right as we were going into the pandemic. So right now, you can see based on this exponential growth in the pended sales, the market is certainly heating up. Buyers are out there picking up anything that they can, and there is just simply not a lot of inventory that is currently available. Okay, so now we're going to look at the average price per square foot. This is one of my all-time favorite metrics. Going back to March of 2020, the average price per square foot was $243. And then it went up very, very gradually month over month. April, May, and June of 2020 basically stayed flat. But since then, it has been a very steady increase. You can see a slightly higher bump in March of 2021 with $297 a square foot. So we are almost on average about $300 per square foot. If the market continues at the pace it's going, I could easily see us going to an average of over $300 per square foot for the April numbers. The next chart we have up on the screen is the average days on market, and then we have the sales price versus the original list price. I like to look at the average days on market because it is an indication of how hot the market is. And as of March of 2021, the average days on market is sitting at 17 days. And if you look at this chart, it's done nothing but basically go down. So in January of 2020, we were on average of about 50 days on market, and it's got down to 44, 36, 27, 27. Market cooled down a little bit in June, July, and August, and it's gone down ever since. So it's the lowest it's been in over a year. Homes are selling very, very quickly right now. In addition to that, if you look at the sales price versus the original list price, which is this green line, this is an indication of what the market is doing as well. So what this is telling us is that based on this number in March of 2020, we are currently selling for 102% of the original list price. Easy math, if you list a property for $100,000, on average, it's selling for $102,000. If you go back a year to March of 2020, homes that were listed at $100,000 were selling for $98,000. So in other words, they were sitting on the market a little longer, and buyers could be a little bit more aggressive with their offers. They could offer less than the listing price and still get under contract and close that deal. Now it's the opposite. They are having to offer over the list price because the market is more competitive so that they can secure that property and purchase the home. And then the last chart that we are going to look at today is another one that I like to pay very close attention to. It's extremely important in my opinion, and that is the month's worth of inventory. And I know I mentioned this on prior videos, but the way it works is that if there is 1 month's worth of inventory that is currently on the market for sale, if no other homes were to hit the open market and be listed on the MLS, it would only take 1 month to sell all the inventory that is currently available. As of March of 2021, we are currently sitting at a half a month's worth of inventory, and that is extremely low. If you go back a year, we were at 1.4 months, which is still so low. In the last 12 months, inventory peaked at almost 2 months worth of inventory, which is still very low. And to give you guys some context on this, if you have less than 3 months worth of inventory, it's generally considered a seller's market. If you have 3 to 6 months worth of inventory, it's more neutral. And if you have 6 months or more, it's typically considered a buyer's market. Well, right now we have an inventory problem. The market is really heating up. Buyers are having to compete against other buyers, and they have to be very aggressive with their offers. And what that means for most people, if the home is priced correctly and it's in a great location, they're having to bid well over the asking price, maybe waive some contingencies, maybe be willing to pay above the appraised value. And then the next thing that I want to discuss, which is partially contributing to our inventory issue, is what the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, just announced with regards to pushing out foreclosures and forbearances until the end of 2022. Up on the screen now, I have an article from consumerfinance.gov, and this article is titled CFPB Proposes Mortgage Servicing Changes to Prevent a Wave of Foreclosures. Millions of homeowners expected to exit forbearance in the coming months. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, today proposed a set of rule changes intended to help prevent avoidable foreclosures as the emergency federal foreclosure protection expires. Due to the pandemic and ensuing economic crisis, millions of families nationwide have suffered the loss of income, and nearly 3 million homeowners are behind on their mortgage. The CFPB's proposal seeks to ensure that both servicers and borrowers have the tools and time they need to work together to prevent avoidable foreclosures, recognizing that the expected surge borrowers exiting forbearance in the fall will put mortgage servicers under strain. The article goes on to say that the pandemic and ensuing economic crisis has contributed to widespread housing insecurity across the nation, and families are at risk of foreclosure when federal emergency protections expire. The number of homeowners behind on their mortgage has doubled since the beginning of the pandemic. 6% of mortgages were delinquent as of December of 2020. More homeowners are behind on their mortgage than at any time since 2010, which was the peak of the Great Recession. Industry data suggests that nearly 1.7 million borrowers will exit forbearance programs in September and the following months, with many of them a year or more behind on their payments. So what is this proposal designed to do? First and foremost, it gives borrowers time. So every one of the nearly 3 million borrowers behind on their mortgage should have a chance to explore ways to resume making payments and avoid foreclosure. To make sure borrowers aren't rushed into foreclosure when a potentially unprecedented number of borrowers exit forbearance, at around the same time this fall, the proposed rule would provide a special pre-foreclosure review period that would generally prohibit servicers from starting foreclosure until after December 31st of 2021. So that will put us into 2022. The CFPB is seeking public input on that date, as well as whether there are more limited ways to achieve the same purpose. For example, the CFPB is considering whether to permit earlier foreclosures if the servicers have taken certain steps to evaluate the borrower for loss mitigation or made efforts to contact an unresponsive borrower. This provision, like the rest of the proposal, would only apply to loans secured by a borrower's primary residence. So in other words, this proposal is designed to work with borrowers to give them time and give them options to stay in their home so long as it is their primary residence. This does not currently apply to investors. In addition to that, it's designed to give servicers options. The proposed rule would permit servicers to offer certain streamlined loan modification options to borrowers with pandemic-related hardships based on the evaluation of an incomplete application. Normally, with certain exceptions, Regulation X would require servicers to review a borrower for all available options at once, which can mean that borrowers have to submit more documents before a servicer can make a decision. Allowing this flexibility could allow servicers to get borrowers into an affordable mortgage payment faster with less paperwork for both the servicer and the borrower. This provision would only be available for modifications that do not increase the borrower's monthly payment and that extend the loan's term by no more than 40 years from the modification's effective date. So this is pretty incredible what they are looking to do to keep you in your home. So this potential proposal here is going to be designed to extend your loan term, reduce your monthly payment, and keep borrowers in their home who are struggling to keep up. So what's interesting to kind of think through here is that I think a lot of real estate investors and some of the folks that I follow on YouTube were anticipating that there would be a wave of inventory once the eviction moratorium was up and once the forbearance period ends, because people would either list and sell their homes or there may be some foreclosure activity, and that would increase the amount of homes that are available on the market for sale. Well, based on this proposal, there is a very good chance that many people will be able to work out an arrangement with their loan servicer and stay in their home longer and potentially reduce their monthly cost. So really good for those homeowners, but really tough for people that are looking to buy. Okay, so before we wrap up the video, I just want to leave you with my personal thoughts on the market, and we'll just kind of recap what we went over. So we know that inventory is still at record low. It's less than it was a month ago, and it was less than it was a couple months before that. So we have less and less inventory. We still have a massive buyer demand, and we have still record low interest rates. Even though they have gone up a tad over the last couple months, they are still extremely low, which increases your purchasing power if you are a buyer. It is a great time to lock into that 30-year fixed rate debt. However, it is extremely challenging if you are a buyer in this market. So what do I think real estate prices are going to do in the coming months? Well, for starters, this is the selling season. So we're in April right now, and historically speaking, we generally see more activity in April, May, June, and July, kind of going into August, and then it starts to taper. So I anticipate if inventory stays low, we are going to have an incredibly competitive selling season. It is going to be tough to get under contract. So my advice to those out there that are looking to buy is just be extremely patient. Understand that you're going to probably have to look at several homes. You're probably going to have to make several offers, and you're going to have to act very, very quickly. You know, if a property comes up for sale, you're going to want to get in there, schedule a showing right away. Your agent is going to have to be extremely hands-on. They're going to have to call that listing agent, find out what the seller is looking for, which title company they prefer, if there's any specific terms that'll help make your offer more appealing. You're probably going to have to go above the ask price and maybe even be willing to pay above the appraised value in case that appraisal were to fall short. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just saying this, giving you this information so that you're aware of what to expect and you have the proper expectations. It's still, in my opinion, a very good time to buy real estate. I think the Fed is creating a setup for inflation, which means that locking into 30-year fixed rate debt today is probably going to be a good thing. I expect prices to increase for the foreseeable future, at least until more inventory comes online or interest rates increase, which the Fed has also indicated they have no intention on increasing those rates. Hang in there, go tour lots of real estate, go make lots of offers, study up, understand the market, understand value, and I think you'll be just fine. I think home ownership is achievable for everyone. It's just all a matter of putting together a plan, defining your criteria, and getting hyper focused on what you're trying to achieve. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you found the information useful, please consider smashing that like button and then tapping that subscribe button to see more weekly videos on finance, real estate, and investing. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Take care.